Okay, so I'm going to try and do something here that we didn't plan. By the way, you're still watching a Newsfeed AM. I'm joined in studio by young actress Ayakha Ntunja. I want to do this, so can we just quickly scroll back up, right to the top? Ayakha, by the way, good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, so you used to cut, cue, and so forth, right? Action. Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. So here we don't do action. We just do the countdown. Okay. So I'm going to count you down and see who.
The way I can't see from far. Let's try.
Let's see if Ayakha can take my job.
I'm going to apply.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Let's go.
General divides and not amplifying the youth voice has led to a number of challenges in our society. They play out in community and social settings, leading into tensions between the young and old. We speak to actress Ayakha Ntunja, who's part of the cast on a popular Showmax show, Youngins, which deals with issues relating to the youth.
My director just said I lost my job.
I'll come in.
Well done, well done. That's incredible. Happy Youth Day to you.
Thank you.
How do you feel being a young person in South Africa at this current stage in 2024?
In 2024, I definitely feel like we've come a long way, but there's so much more to do. Mm-hmm. I think as the youth, I was listening to the interview actually that was just previously had, and there were some things that I was hearing. And I feel like we're not necessarily, not everyone, not understanding this day, but I think it also comes with different challenges for our generation as much as the previous. But I definitely do think we need a lot more educated communities to help us understand it and help us also fix it, and what we can do as our generation to better for the next one coming.
Yeah. Where do you think there is this disjointment between the various generations in the ability to actually have those cross-generational conversations?
I think the disjointment comes in to a point where we were told we're given freedom, so it's good now. And that's how you're supposed to move. And it's okay now. You guys are interracial schools. Everybody's together. It's fine now. You can do this and this. And I'm not saying the opportunities are not there, but they're not as amplified as what we were supposed to be presented with. And sometimes I think that's the disconnect comes into not understanding where we're coming from and why we still need to fight more to where we're going. Just because you're in an interracial school doesn't mean everything is going to be fair and everything is just free now. Mm-hmm. And I feel like we are losing that touch of understanding our background and how to move forward, especially knowing that the education system might have changed, but I still feel like that's not the education system we should be giving. We still have to do a lot more. There's so many schools that still don't have the opportunities we have. There's still so many children who are actually can't even write on paper in classrooms. And that's, but we have freedom, so that's okay. Yeah. And I don't think that's what we should be focusing on. For me, I always used to tell myself it's a community project before it's a national project. Because if you're going to try, as much as I see the elections, the parliament and government, which is a big, big part of our structure in our country, if I can't help the next in my school, if I can't help my community, if I can't help my town, I'm not going to do anything to move the education system forward. Yeah. I'm not going to do anything to move our young generation forward, because I can't just tell people to now get up and go, whereas we have not set any level of ground foundation for those kids to understand where they actually go.
That's so true, because yes, while we speak about access to education, that it is your right to access to education, we also need to have a conversation about what type of education are we speaking about, and what type of youth or young people are we trying to create in terms of the society that we are trying to build. And I wonder from your end, do you think that looking at Olifantsfontein High School and your personal experience, are there any intersectionalities that you say that I've experienced this in high school, and strangely I'm was experiencing this in high school as well, the character that you play, and these are some of the challenges that we need to deal with though as a nation?
For me, Olifants, and I went to NSA.
Yeah.
They're very quite similar experiences. I think definitely when it comes to youth and our challenges and what we're facing every day. But I would say, for example, for my characters, Amwan Youngins, the biggest thing that my character does is fight for people to be heard. In the first season, you see that as she fights for Zinhle and, what the principal does to her and the harassment and, grooming her per se, is something that's very common in schools that people actually don't see. The teachers that are there for you are sometimes teachers that are having different notion of what they want from you. And I think sometimes kids just fall into that pattern, or they just, you know, let it happen without them even understanding what is actually happening to you at that age. I think my biggest thing in high school, we are taught to learn, but not how to create. And I'm not just saying in art, I'm just saying in any general sector. I remember a quote, we are taught how to use the computer, not how to make the computer.
Yeah.
Not how to build it from scratch, not how to engine it, how to actually make it work for us. And I think that, for me, is the biggest thing in education, is that what are we actually teaching? We are teaching our children and younger people and our younger sisters and brothers to be workers, not to create work. We are teaching them to abide by the rules, but not to really understand why that rule was implemented for us to actually move forward. Now that I've grown, I go back, I'm like, if I could do high school again, I would have such a different perspective of what I was actually learning in class and why I was learning it. But we are just taught, okay, do your test, let's do our exams, let's do this, and let's move forward, and then we're going to be fine. And I think for me is, that's what was long time ago. They were taught to go through an education system, learn, and go work.
Yeah.
And just because it's being put in a pretty light now, we're still taught, go through the system, learn, and go work. And I feel like sometimes we need to change the way we integrate that perspective and actually fill kids up with that. You can actually be anything, not just saying it, but actually showing people, teaching them financial literacy, teaching them how to go into the real world and actually take over, so that people don't get to university now and you're just like, oh, okay, I'm not sure. I'm just here to get my degree. After my degree, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah. And are you able to have the conversations that are difficult with your parents, as an example? I read somewhere that after the audition that you accompanied your friend to, that's how you fell in love with acting and eventually went to the National School of the Arts. But having to convince your parents that actually this is the route that I want to take, because it's also about the future that you're trying to build for yourself. Yes, our parents do play an important role in that type of future that we want to build, but at the end of the day, it's about what you want and what you want to achieve. Was that difficult at all? And do you find it sometimes challenging because of the generational gap, having the difficult conversations?
It was a difficult conversation to have at first, because we are known to that art doesn't make money, art doesn't have a future, and you know
it's a lie, by the way. It's a lie.
It's a big lie, and you know, there's so many other things to do in art besides just being on TV. I think people think it's just being on TV, and it's like, no, there's a whole creation background to it. And I remember the biggest conversation that I had with my dad was just letting him know that you have always taught me to be the best at what I can and always push. And if this is something I'm choosing to do, then support me to do that. And one thing about my father, he was at every competition, every school, every game. He was always like, if you're gonna swim, you're gonna be #1 if you're gonna swim. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes that, not even pressure, but that encouragement made me understand that if I want something, I need to go for it. I can't do it half-heartedly. I can't be like, okay, I'm gonna do a few shows and I'll be okay and we'll see what happens. If I'm going for this thing, I'm gonna do it. I must create the movies, I must create that production house, I must be that writer, I must actually be the performer that encourages people to do things and actually see art for a different light. And when I told my dad, hey, I wanna go to NSA, he was like, yo, I was like, you know, just give me the challenge.
Do you want you to be a doctor, a lawyer?
He did. He was like, don't you want to be a doctor? There's only one doctor in the family. You could be the second one. And I was like, you know what? I don't think that's for me. But I understand why he would have had that perspective and how he also grew up. But I tried to make him understand. And now he's so supportive. And now he's just like, okay, you need to do this. You should go to this interview. Oh, what time is it? And he's the most encouraging person. I'm like, you see, it worked. You see.
Speak to our audience that are listening now, especially the parents, about the importance of having that support structure as a parent and being there for the child, but also how you influence how the child actually shows up in your absence. I
think to parents, I would say a big thing is listen to what your child is really saying. Sometimes I feel like I've also used to have this thing where I just used to listen to respond and not listen to comprehend. Because now we are trying to be like, no, but that's wrong. But we don't even understand where it's coming from. I think encouragement goes a long way. But also don't be afraid to continue pushing your child even when they fail. Remember, sometimes when you fail at something, you're like, okay, this is not for me. I need to stop. Where it's not like that. I've been to thousands of auditions where I got no until I got my yes. But because people encouraged me and continued to say, no, you brought this onto you, right? Stick it out. Let's do it. Let's continue watching movies so we can help you. Let's continue going through scripts so we can do this. You want to be an actor? Go be an actor, but do it at your fullest ability so that we can know how to help you and encourage you. And I think the biggest thing, always be broad in what you do as well. I feel like acting has so many sectors, and I want people to understand that it's also a business as much as just entertainment. So teach your child about the business of acting as well. Teach them that this is a job and you also need to show up for it. It's not just glitz and glam, it's not just fame. So yeah.
You speak about DStv and the bouquet. What we are offering is, as the media, is also part entertainment. You know, essentially looking at the number of channels that DStv has. And if you start thinking of it as a business, then perhaps maybe the some of the issues that people have with the arts would probably shift. But speak to us in conclusion about investing in the arts, especially as we have more and more young people like yourself who are making themselves available to say that give me the script, give me the script, give me the camera, give me the set, and I'm ready to rock and roll.
For me, I think the arts is a big investment. There are so many kids with so many voices and so much talent. I remember I used to do inter-school competitions like Federal Grides and Eads, and you'd see some schools not participating because they don't have drama at school. They don't have these things that we have, that we have access to. And I think we need to look at it more, like you said, as a business, but also a way of emotional release for a lot of people when they go into it. Not just giving me a script, but also giving me how the camera works. Give me how the light works. Give me how a producer needs to produce. Give me how a director sees their view and how they want to put something together. Because it's not just about saying words, it's actually more about creating a society around us. I always tell people, art is one form that everyone always runs to. When you're not feeling okay, you watch a movie. When you're not having a good day, you put on your good music and you say, let's go. And those people need to also be invested to, because they're making everyday lives. We're like the therapists, low-key. We're like therapists of the world and people don't see it. But,
how do you feel about being called a 2000? Do you see it as a derogatory term at all?
I don't see it as a derogatory term at all. I think I'm proud to be a part of my generation. I feel like we have a lot of innovators and a lot of people speaking up actually who know and how to innovate and do more for us. So sometimes, though, what is connected to a 2000 is just like, man, you 2000s, I just don't know what you're doing. I'm like, guys, that's not it at all. But I know, man, I feel like if you want to call me a 2000, I am a 2000, but I truly believe our generation has a lot more to give.